This week, we talk about internet rabbit holes, how to handle news media in all its forms, and what we've done to stay sane in quarantine. Also, Dave discovers a secret pipeline to amazing Japanese public television. So, gather around the internet campfire, everyone, because it's our first episode of Let's Regroup. So, welcome everyone to Let's Regroup, a podcast where we get off topic, but we'll get there eventually. I'm your...
If by eventually you mean 5 years from now.
Well, it depends. First of all, I'm your host, Casey, and I have with me two guests. One of them is Dave.
I'm the guy who interrupted?
Yep, that's gonna happen. And the other guy is Rowles.
Hey.
Alright.
He may or may not be a robot.
He's Grounder. That's his icon on Discord. Alright, so I suppose that I should start off with a little bit of background as to why this is even happening in the first place. So, you guys know my friend Riley from ages ago.
Yeah.
He's not here to help me explain this, but that's okay. I'll fill in for him. Basically, the whole reason this happened in the first place was because I wanted to start a D&D campaign, and he was like out of nowhere, after not talking to him for like nigh on 6 years. Like 6 years. He reached out and was like, "I'm in." I'm like, oh, literally nothing would make me happier. So we've been playing that campaign for a while, and then he was like, you know what? We haven't recorded a podcast in a long time. We should do that.
It always comes back. It always comes back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
We initially had another podcast that we recorded between the years of 2012 and 2016 that promptly imploded after people moved, and we ended up just not doing it. We were gonna revamp this whole show and start a new one, and it was gonna be great, and nothing came of it.
Yeah.
So
unfortunate.
Which that's fine. So now here we are in the year of our Lord 2020.
So
again,
Can we take a step back and acknowledge what an interesting time it is right now?
Oh yeah, what a
and
time
how much
to
shit
be
has
alive.
changed since we last recorded. When did we last record, by the way, Casey? Do you remember?
Our last episode of Groupcast. I guess I'm name dropping that now. I didn't realize that until it happened. Our last episode of that was like the first week of February 2016.
2016. So that's what, 4 years?
Yeah. 4 years and 4 months.
So we're currently living in a dystopian novel. It's interesting, and I think it's kind of a fitting time for everyone to come back.
Yes.
Because it wouldn't be the strangest thing that would happen.
No. The fact that everybody is coming out of the woodwork for this. Well, just some background before we really get into what we wanted to talk about today. Like I said before, I headed a podcast for 4 years. And I should mention that I did that starting at age 17. So I didn't know what I was doing. And so after we had finished that and all this time has passed, and I was like, okay, we're going to start a new one. Just same format, talk about whatever we want, have stories from our personal lives if we feel like it. And I was just messaged 16 people, said, hey, if you're interested, come on over to this Discord that I made. And almost everyone was like, yeah, I'll do that. And it wasn't just yeah, I guess I got nothing else better to do, but it was an actual everybody was interested.
You were met with a lot more enthusiasm than I expected.
Yeah, who are you telling? I was beyond amazed that had happened.
What I was gonna say to that topic is, I think we all like just need to talk to people about things, and doing it in text isn't enough.
Yeah.
So here we are all again,
And
human communication.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is I have a mission statement. Amazingly enough, I have a mission statement for this podcast. So those of you who are listening are probably either the people who are on this podcast and are a part of it, or you are someone that one of us knows, or you're someone who randomly stumbled upon this, in which case you're an incredible person. But I have a mission statement here, and it is twofold. Number one, shit's cray. And it's important for us as people in general to take a step back, like you were saying, Dave, and say, okay, shit's cray. How do I process this? And the best way to do that is to listen to a bunch of junks sitting around the old internet campfire and talking about what's going on.
Like the cavemen of old.
Yes, exactly. And the second thing is we want to, for ourselves, try and process the aforementioned cray shit and talk about all that's going on. Because the number one most important thing that you can do as a person to achieve happiness is socialize with people. That's been proven over and over and over again. Like, we are a social people, a social species. So, like, if we don't have that, things get bleak, and that is very apparent. So
yeah, I was gonna say, on the other side of that, the experiments that have been done are people that are in isolation. Every test of that has gone bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
You start hallucinating and seeing demons in the night that aren't there, or
yeah, exactly.
any other number of things from not talking to one other person.
Yeah, there's this incredible video that I saw not too long ago by Vsauce, which I'm sure everybody...
Hey, Vsauce. Michael here.
Everybody knows by now. Because he's become something of a meme, because he thinks that being a meme is hilarious, and he just like proliferates it, which is great.
You gotta embrace it.
Yep.
There's no other way to do it.
So he did a video a couple years back for a series for YouTube's premium bungus called Mind Field. And in the first video, which you can still watch for free right now, you don't have to pay anything to watch it, he goes into an isolation chamber wearing very simple clothing, just a t-shirt and shorts, in a room that had nothing but a bed, a toilet, and like basic water and food as needed. Everything was white. And he's like, I'm going to show you exactly what happens when you are in an isolated room for 3 days straight, because that's like the maximum you can do before you go legitimately insane. And that's exactly what happened. Here's a guy who is like all about psychology, went to school for psychology, and is like, I know exactly what's going on. I know how to handle this sort of thing. And he lost his goddamn mind.
So, did he have the beard?
Yes,
is my question.
He did have the beard.
Did he ever get rid of the beard?
I don't think so. Well, no, he did at like a long time ago, like 2010. He didn't have a beard for a while.
Okay, so I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But no, in this video, he's like, you can just watch him slowly descend into madness, where he's like attempting for a while to try and keep himself occupied, because you have no stimuli to base your life off of. And so he's like, oh, it's probably been almost 3 days by now. And you see the timer in the corner, it's been like a day and a half. And he starts panicking because he's like, maybe they forgot to let me out. And he like, there's a part where he almost opens the door. He's like, opens the door, because, like, obviously you have people watching him to make sure he's okay. And he's like, maybe I should just go out there. And he opens the door, and the people who are watching was like, is he going to cancel the experiment? And then he changes his mind and goes back in. He's like, no, it's probably fine. And
So he's able to leave at any time he wants.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
But to sum it all up, at the end of it, when he does get let out, it's like one of the other people in his YouTubing posse and his wife are there who are watching him. And he comes out and he's like actually in tears, like, I can't express how happy I am right now that I am interacting with another human being.
It's fundamental to who we are.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's also important to make sure that there's a variety of people that you talk to. For me, I've been most of my interactions, I would say, have been limited to my girlfriend, people that I see at work, and my family on occasion.
Right.
And I think having a bit more variety in the people that I see is going to be very helpful to my mental state, because 2 months ago when this all started, things were not going good. Things were not going good at all. Like I felt down all the time, and it just I wasn't in a good mental state. But now that it's a little bit warmer out, I get to see people. I'm okay. What were we saying, Rowles?
I was gonna say, yeah, I definitely know what you mean about being in that kind of mental state at the beginning of it. Because I was even working, but both my part-time and full-time job were still deemed essential. So I was able to continue working, but even like being the only person on the highway driving at one time.
Oh, yeah, that must have been spooky.
Like it becomes like a post-apocalyptic, again, like a dystopian novel. Like, so it's from the other way, where other people were feeling caged in. I was like, everything's here and over to go because everywhere is shut.
Yeah, that was crazy. There was a time not that long ago where, now I live both off of a highway and in a city, like just outside of a city. And that highway goes straight through that city. So you get people who are going through on the highway, and you also get people who are living in the area using that highway. And the fact that at 4:30 in the afternoon, when normally it's rush hour traffic, you see 3 cars total, like, that's jarring to have seen that. It was really crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice little taste of the apocalypse for you.
It was a little bit more than a taste. It was like an hors d'oeuvre of apocalypse.
Yeah.
A little bit more than needed.
Yeah, I'll say. So to wrap it all around what I was saying initially, we're doing this both for ourselves and for you to process what's going on and talk about it.
You, mysterious viewer, that somehow made it here. If you did, go outside. It's actually kind of nice out, please.
Yeah.
For your own health.
Now, I am going to start with just producing this podcast and probably uploading it to either YouTube or having an RSS feed. But I'm hoping to build more than just that eventually. Depends on how things go. But for now, we're just going to be a couple of peoples on the internet talking about stuff. My job consists of... I was able to work from home because I have 2 jobs, one of which is a very public job, and the other one is very not public. And I can go ahead and work from the non-public job from home with no issue whatsoever because I was already doing that. So I was fortunate for that. But, like, sitting here, I'm currently in my basement to record this because it's the best sound quality, and this is also where I work, is a little disheartening just because of like how you're just sitting and doing your work this whole time. And so it's very good that we're doing this.
For sure. Background on me, I was working in a grocery store the entire time. So you can kind of extrapolate how it went from there.
Yeah.
Things were, as Casey put it, cray.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not feeling so cray. And I had to fight people for toilet paper.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, how many times did people complain about the toilet paper not being stocked?
A lot.
Many is an acceptable answer.
A lot. And I'm in a deli. Like I don't
You got
and even people were coming up
yeah,
to me.
I was gonna say, you got people coming in from who knows where they came from, being like, "Hey, you're the only sensible person I could talk to. Where's the toilet paper at? You hoarding anything back there while you're chopping up the boar's head?"
Like I had to get some for my parents because they've been trying to get it, and every single time they come in, you'd have just a rush of people going after it. So I intercepted the truck and happened to procure myself some TP.
You flagged them down.
I felt genuinely unsafe going from the back room to my department because there's like a stretch where you're like in the produce section. And I genuinely thought somebody was going to come steal it from me.
That's insane.
It's weird. It's a weird time.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys do in quarantine?
Well, I was, like I said, I was at both my jobs. I work for Keystone Autism Services since January, helping 2 adults in a residential home with their needs. Very happily though, they're both very independent, so kind of just cooking them and cooking for them, not cooking them, and helping
important kids.
Helping is needed. And at my other job that I left full time and now work there 12 hours a week as a security guard, and basically the Apple warehouse owned by DB Schenker in Carlisle, which I do that morning shift 3 days, and then I do second shift at the other job. But just explaining that, because that's basically what I did the entire time. Nothing really slowed down for me. The only thing I had to do was carry the piece of paper that my writ of transit to let me go to and from work, because those are a thing now. We need to cross the border from Newville into Carlisle. You need your walking papers.
Wow.
But it was, yeah, like you said about the kind of dystopian or the eerie sense of seeing like empty highways. That was my drive to and from work and doing these jobs, and I've just had to the only thing is we've had to wear a mask at both jobs, and kind of make sure every time you go in and out you wash your hands, like just extra cleanliness, which I'm really not opposed to anyway.
Yeah,
but
that's generally something you should just do anyway.
Yeah, but that's my experience has just been working. It's been actually a pretty. I feel bad when people say about how this year is, because it's actually been a pretty decent year for me.
It's good. I'm glad at least somebody has.
Thank you. But it's so I was kind of fortunate to not have my income or any way affected, you know.
Yeah, that's very
because I can't even imagine like other people that have had to.
Yeah.
I have friends that work, you know, for school districts and stuff, and they're just pretty much working from home completely now. So,
yeah, my life has turned completely inside out as a result of this. So, a little bit of background: I work in education, and so I before this, on a daily basis, I would walk into a school and hang out with teenagers all day, and it was fucking bomb. I love it. And I left the job I was at to start a new job that had better benefits and had slightly better pay. It took me ages to get started with that because the way that the system worked, and it's the substitute service. So they have this like rigmarole of hoops you have to jump through, and so I took like a month between one job to the other, and thankfully I had my other job, the one where I work from home, to keep me with an income. But I spent like a month trying to jump through their hoops, doing all of their training and making sure that all of the right paperwork and all of the right clearances were gone through. And I finally went to a physical location to talk to one of the people in charge to get all that stuff squared away. And then the following week, that was like early March, I went to one school for one day, and I go home. I'm not even home yet. I get a phone call saying, "Hey, we're closing down all the schools in the county, so we'll get back to you until further notice." I worked one day at my new job, and I just have to wait. So the crazy thing about this whole thing is that nobody has any idea what each school, because each district is different, nobody has any idea how in the fall this whole thing is going to work out. The company that I work for says, yeah, it's fine, we'll still ask you for jobs as needed. It's just going to be a little wonky, because the people that I student taught with and eventually got the job at the same school that I student taught at, those kids that I taught initially graduated this year, so I know a lot of the kids who did graduate and like how bizarre it was for them. So to think about the kids who are having to come back to school in the fall, nobody has any idea in this part of the country what's exactly they're gonna do. Like, some people are saying, oh, we'll have like half cyber school and half brick and mortar school, and some people are like, well, we're probably not going to open at all. And then there are some people still who are saying, well, we'll be open all the time, except we're going to have like way more stringent policies on how many kids we can have in a room at once. It's crazy.
Yeah. My sister graduated high school here this past semester, and her plan is she's actually going to attend Millersville. And we were just kind of looking at things, because I know they're part of the same network that like SU is. You know, there are all these the state schools that run under the same thing, and it's like there's not even cohesion between like that yet. So it really is kind of thrown up in the air, because some people, like you said, want to go ahead, some people want to hold off, and then there are the people that still think it's just the common cold. It's a hoax.
I'm sad that my
the media did it.
I'm sad a little bit that my girlfriend isn't here to explain just the absolute fuckery of people who have showed up. She works in retail.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Works at a gas station, and just the number of... She told me at one time, like maybe a month ago, she would get no less than 6 conspiracy theories thrown at her a day.
I manage a deli, right?
Right.
You would think that the conversations that you get there would essentially just be like, oh, hey, can I get a pound of this? Sliced in yet?
But yeah, they would be meat related.
Right. Not about how this entire thing was perpetuated by China, and that just bizarre, really off the wall things, conspiracy theory things. I don't need to hear about what you saw on Facebook. I really don't. I don't care. I don't care. But I hear so many crazy off the wall ideas about this, and nobody knows what the hell's going on, you know? Yeah. And it's just been rampant speculation.
I have a friend that I keep in touch with on my Facebook that kind of went to school with me, and some of the guys we went to school with, like the group. And she has been posting the most outlandish things lately regarding these conspiracies, where this COVID was here to depress people and shut down all the entertainment. So then the riots could happen and people would become disenfranchised, and their like money, the value of things would go down, and
It's all
everyone's on edge. And now NASA, is going to create a fake alien life to become the new false messiah. This is Project Blue Beam, and she's linking articles and shit. And I'm like, you can make up as many things as you want. It's so fucking make
linking in Project Blue Beam.
Yeah, there was a time there where like the people in my household decided that watching the daily presidential updates was a thing that everybody needed to gather around to go see. I tried very hard to block it out because, for the sole reason that I just got upset. Like, I don't need to hear about everything's great, everything's terrible, but everything's great. And then, like, having to sit through one part just sort of, like, talking about how great things are, and then another part, actually no, two parts of all of the reporters in the peanut gallery being like, all right, but let me ask this very obvious question that will make us say, and just like, I don't want to hear that. I have better things to do. It's just like, the more you watch those things, the more you watch like the 24-hour news cycle, the more you're going to start thinking that way. Yeah. And it's just not a good time.
Oh, definitely.
Attention is currency. And I don't want to be spending it on something that I know for a fact is going to make me mad. Like I actively try and avoid that for my own mental state.
Right. It's but I remember this great moment happened. I came into work. The shift before me at the house was watching CNN, right? And this is when they had all the factoids on the right side of the screen as well. So they're interviewing someone saying, you know, how can we stop people from getting into these fear-based misbeliefs about COVID, and just like how to help people keep their common sense while we're going through this. And yet on the other side of the screen, on the other side of the screen though, they have the death counter where worldwide infected and death and US infected and dead. And it's like, you're asking how to stop fear mongering. Can you take down the death counter perhaps? That is the reason. Like, they don't understand. Like you said, you know, everything is what going two ways in one direction, and like to get a gotcha moment. You know, like the lack of just self-awareness is astounding through this. They're just either fear mongering or saying it's just the common cold. You don't have to worry about anything. Oh, by the way, it was those dirty Chinamen that did it. Like, what the fuck?
And if you say Chinaman, I don't want to talk to you. I was just gonna say, Dave, when you were talking about your whole thing in the deli, like, how many people were talking to you about the wet market and being like, well, I'm sure glad we don't have one of those over there.
I've heard people say, oh, they're dirty because they eat with their hands. I've heard that multiple times. And
stop it.
Man, I don't know. It's upsetting. And at the end of the day, I try and block it out. I try.
It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I would recommend just to anyone. It sounds like you guys are already kind of this mindset too, but if you want to like learn things, read the news online, find reputable sites, or watch a channel that you can know is fact verified instead of leaning, because every news reporter has a slant, no matter how much they say they might not. You know, it's just a personal bias, if nothing else. So,
tiny bit of research.
Absolutely.
Will do good.
You don't even have to do that much research in order to, like, if you see a headline on a major news network and even if you aren't sure if it's true or not, or if it's been like fluffed or not, only a very small amount of research. Like, just even typing in keywords in Google will tell you more than you need to. You'll get more information by doing that than you will just by looking at a headline or watching that segment for a while.
This is
For
probably
Oh,
where I could
yeah!
chime
We
in.
have a secret fourth guest here. Please welcome to the show, Michaela.
Hello, that's me. I am part of the hashtag fake news media.
Oh, yeah, because you work for the media.
Yep, I'm a journalist. So,
it's all your fault, by the way.
the amount of times that I've heard that all of this is the media's fault has just been staggering. Basically, the world's problems would be solved with a media literacy class. Because anybody can have a blog. Right now, I'm not going to disclose my location. We have a county commissioner. He's Republican. Not that that's like deal breaker or whatever. And he tweets unironically Ayn Rand quotes from Capital Tribe. He will like retweet the articles that frame him and his coworkers in a positive light. Then if he doesn't like something, he'll just be like, fake news media at it again. And it's like, people pick and choose when media benefits them. And it's kind of getting a little frustrating.
As someone who works in that field, I'm sure you are sick and tired of it.
Oh my god. Common saying, not reading the comments is self-care.
Yeah.
If you're ever proud of an article that you write, do not ever look at the comments on said article. You'll be upset forever.
Yeah, it's one thing to get feedback. It's another thing to be force-fed feedback by a bunch of people who think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Basically, going along the lines of Casey, what you had said, don't just feed into the 24-hour news networks. Obviously, your local news is your best news. They mess up sometimes, and it be like that. But please do some research into things before sharing them.
Definitely. Yeah, because that's honestly how a lot of conspiracy theories start, is where you get people who really haven't talked to other people about the things they're thinking about, or they come up with an idea and decide, well, without any further information, I'm going to spread this.
Especially among old people. I feel like younger generations are a little bit better about it, because I feel like anybody under the age of 30, whenever they see a headline that they know is a little too wacky to be true, I feel like they're the first to Google and if it's actually true. They're the fact checkers.
Rowles, I'm very sorry.
I was gonna say, damn, I missed the cutoff point by like a year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Oh Lord.
You fucking boomer.
No, I was gonna say that, like, I think you're right. The reason that the older people is used to being in like an almost a sort of echo chamber, where if you don't get online and actually read the opinions of someone who lives outside of your town, everyone's gonna have the same opinion about those dirty liberals up north.
D-gens from up north.
Oh man.
Hopefully somebody gets that reference. This is Dave's gamer pro tip.
Okay.
If you see it on Facebook, don't automatically assume that it's true.
Yes. It's just so funny to me that, like, 15 years ago, maybe even more than that, like at the dawn of like the 2000s, and after that, you could remember your parents telling you, don't believe anything you see on the internet because anybody can write anything. And then there was an absolute role reversal in which now the children are saying to the parents, don't read into everything you see on the internet because anybody can say anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird.
How the tables have turned.
How the tables have tabled.
You mean to tell me people just lie on the internet?
You know what? Hot take?
Arthur,
Yes.
Arthur reference, yes.
Citation needed.
Google it. Look it up.
Search on Bing. I don't care. Use Yahoo.
Don't use Bing.
Yahoo.
Use
Dog pile.
the way back.
Remember dog pile?
I was gonna say use the way back machine and search Alta Vista.
There you go. Netscape
I was going to suggest
Navigator.
Ask Jeeves.
Oh yeah, it's Jeeves.
Oh yes.
There you
I
go.
wonder whatever happened to that poor man.
He's
That poor non-existent man.
Jeeving it up somewhere.
Did you just say Jeeves in it up somewhere?
Probably. Michaela, did you have anything to add? We kind of went off the rails there for a moment.
It's gonna happen a lot.
It sure is.
Yeah.
All right now.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I would chime in
And I also apologize that I didn't ask for your input earlier, since we saw that you were actively listening while we were just like shitting on the media. So I'm sorry about that.
and I was like, oh god.
But no, it's good to have differing opinions in that way.
Oh, absolutely. And if it comes down to it, I'm like one of the biggest critics of corporate media anyways.
I mean, I imagine you have to be.
Yeah. I mean, really you can't depend on CNN. You can't depend on MSNBC. You can't depend on Fox News.
Yep.
Anything that relatively looks like a blog, Breitbart, don't do that.
Going off of that, it reminds me just of a brief story. In 2016, between the era of this podcast and the one before it, I went to Atlanta, Georgia for a convention. And the convention center was in the same building complex that CNN's headquarters was. So at one point in time, like after the first day of it had ended, we're like, okay, we need to go find food. Where do we go find food? Because the convention itself didn't have any. So we looked it up on Google Maps to try and find it, and there was like, oh, there's this huge food court that's not too far away. However, not realizing that this building complex, I forget what it's called. It's like, I don't remember what it's called, but it's enormous. It takes up several city blocks, and it is the most labyrinthian building you have ever walked into. Like, getting to the convention floor itself was fine, because it was basically just, like, up some stairs and down a hallway. But to get to this food court, you had to, like, go down several escalators and up several escalators. We were in an elevator at one point. We went down several hallways. We found ourselves in, like, the same open atrium several times, but on different floors. And it took us, like, 20 minutes of just wandering to find this place. So if that speaks to you as to what CNN, at the very least, is like, just look at their building.
I just actually Googled that and brought up, it's apparently called the CNN Center. It didn't have a fancy name, but I can see, compared to other buildings around it and the highway, just how massively giant this building is.
Oh, it was maddening. I cannot express to you enough how exhausted we were by the time we got to that food court.
So what floor was the Minotaur on?
It was on it was down there. I mean, we came upon it a couple times. Luckily, we had some string. We were able to kind of backtrack our way, so we were able to avoid it. So it's okay. It's fine.
It was blocking the entrance to like the best item in the food court. Like,
Yeah, that's where
you want to get a
blocking.
Five Guys burger. You want to get Five Guys, you have to pass the Minotaur.
Yes, I just remember that food court not having any restaurants I'd ever heard of. It was weird.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, there was like a pancake food place. It wasn't even a restaurant. It was like, it's like, hey, we'll make your pancakes for you. It was weird.
Is it a chain?
I have no idea.
Huh.
Yeah, that whole experience was a fever dream.
Sounds like it. So, what have you guys been doing for entertainment while this has been going down?
Well, I said that I've been playing D&D, which has been amazing.
D&D. Okay.
And Michaela's been part of that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been just playing a lot more PS4 and stuff. That's really that, and I did rewatch like the entire Phase 1 of the Marvel movie canon.
Oh, nice.
Just doing stuff like that to fill the time, like self rewatch challenges and stuff, is because we've been trapped at home. There's nothing to do. There's,
I
you
got
can
into.
go have a.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh. I got into speed running again after several years of not doing it. And also, what was the other thing? Oh, and Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing came out at exactly the time it needed to come out by accident.
My boy.
It was great.
This game has done things to me. So, I was kind of late to the Animal Crossing hype train. I came in when New Leaf came out. I did the one thing that you're not supposed to do. I took the advice of a GameStop employee and pre-ordered it. And it might have been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. Citation needed.
Okay.
But in between trying to find fucking Ketchup, the little duck,
oh yeah,
on one of those islands,
Ketchup.
I've been going down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So flashback to like, I want to say late May. We being my family and I, we went to Ocean City, Maryland.
Okay.
My grandparents have a like a condo there that we go to like once a year, just to get away.
Okay.
They have an ancient TV with an ancient dish subscription. And I don't know, one day I got bored. I was thumbing through the TV that we brought along, which, it's one of those smart TVs, so it has like a bunch of different apps and stuff like that. I was bored. Couldn't really find anything, so I ended up thumbing through the channels on that old like ancient CRT, and I got to this one channel, and I wasn't sure what it was at first, but it had like some really interesting public access television on it.
Oh, okay.
It turns out that this was actually the international version of Japan's national broadcasting.
Whoa! How did you get that?
I don't know. It gets better. It's called NHK.
Okay.
For anyone who's not aware, they have some of the most interesting, like, mini documentaries for free.
It's amazing.
On like food, Japanese culture. There's a 10-part documentary on Hayao Miyazaki. Like, it's insane. I do want to point out my favorite out of the series that I've seen.
Okay.
It's called Trials to Oishii, Tokyo, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
It's a documentary series. It's like 30 minutes long, And you can go to their website right now, and you can watch their backlog for free. It's a show where they do a deep dive into a single ingredient that's like a staple in Japanese cooking.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting, actually.
I don't know. It's something that I really like. Like I'm into cooking and stuff like that, and seeing them go in depth into like a single ingredient that you wouldn't bat an eye at, like corn, for example,
Right.
is a really good way to waste time.
I'll have to look into that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it. They have an app. You can get it on your phone. It works just as well as YouTube. They have live broadcasting. They have news. Granted, the news is mostly about coronavirus right now, but if that's your thing, you can do that. And they do have a backlog of their shows. I think they keep a year's worth of backlog up at all times. So I think it's like through like 2019 or something like that.
Wow. That's pretty incredible of something to just happen upon.
Yeah. Like I was thumbing through and I saw this, and I didn't realize it was about Japan at first, because it was just like a nature documentary, and they were talking about like swallows in like a city that you couldn't really tell like where it was at. And then when it was over, I saw what it was, and I was like, oh, this is really effing neat.
I'll make sure.
And so,
go ahead.
I just spent my entire vacation watching that when I wasn't out on the beach.
All right. I will make a list of links that anybody who's interested can follow to find these things that we talk about.
Check the podcast notes?
Yeah.
Question mark?
I'm really tempted to just refer to it as the Lynx.
Lynx.
Only because
that's what we referred to it like back in the old podcast.
Yeah, because I spelled it as like the cat Lynx, and I thought, and I continue to this day, and will continue forever to think that is funny. So we're gonna do that again and call it the Lynx. Actually, I think it would be pretty cool if we all, like, impromptu, and maybe in the future more planned out, if we told the listeners of something that you can use to waste time on if you're either bored or need something to just occupy your time in the midst of just the most hellscape. So does anybody else want to throw something in? Because I have something in mind.
Yeah, I like I said about rewatching the Marvel canon there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really go into depth, but I did it in proper series timeline order.
Did it chronologically?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nice. I've been wanting to do that.
What you'll see is like Captain America, then Captain Marvel, and so on and so on. Like, going from the first Avenger onward. And you appreciate it in a different way because you see things that you didn't really notice before.
Right.
And since you're reading it, it feels like instead of reading like each different heroes, 2 or 3 movies as like a mini series, it's like you're reading the whole anthology at once.
That's pretty cool.
And even when you like stop at one, you're like, okay, it's like just picking up the comic book again, like the next day to continue reading, and you're seeing every detail that. My God, Kevin Feige is. He's a planner.
He's got that big brain energy.
Yes.
Straight up.
Yeah. He's like, I have this idea. Bear with me. It's going to happen over 17 years.
That's amazing.
Guys, when it pays off, it's going to be really fucking cool.
Listen. When Cap catches Mjolnir, the theater,
bro,
it's going to fucking erupt.
It's going to hit different. It's really gonna hit different.
I've always wanted to try and make something that long form that requires so much planning. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head that's like that is The Wheel of Time, which is a 14-book series written.
I was just about to bring that up.
Written between 1990 and 2014, and it took so long to write that the original guy died, and they had to order a new guy to do it in his place.
Where do you order guys from, Casey?
I mean, specifically, it's mail order. It's just like a mail order bride, but it was a mail order #1 fan. And they called him up and was like, hey, you like this series so much that you read it every year, one book after the other. Do you want to go ahead and write it for us?
Would I?
That's literally what happened, by the way. Like,
That's incredible.
Like, the #1 fan of that series was contacted by the author's widow and was like, hey, we noticed that you are really, really like this series. Can you finish it for us?
Okay, so I have this great photo from the Wheel of Time series, kind of making fun of it,
Uh-huh.
that I saved. Didn't know this occasion was coming out, but I love it. The title is "The Crowned Shadow of Winter's Heart is crossing the road with a sword, and he's pissed." Book 13 of the Wheel of Time.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic.
It's like, let's just make this as convoluted as possible.
Everybody go to the subreddit Wetlander Humor. Okay. Michaela, do you have anything that you want to mention?
I'm pouring candles right now.
That's fine.
Going along with that, my big time waster has been I created a candle business.
Nice.
And if you want a candle...
I've heard that they're pretty okay.
They are actually. They're actually awesome.
Thank you. I want to. Basically learning how to start a very small business from scratch. It's been quarantine.
That's pretty fantastic, though.
It's stressful. I'm working on a summer release right now, and I know this is like snooze-worthy.
That's okay.
But there are these like little baby candles. They're small. And they're like cute little summer 4-packs.
Love it.
Besides that, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. I've been in Breath of the Wild, which I have both good and bad feelings about. Basically, since I've been working from home, like, I'm just going insane. Oh, I taught myself photography.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm one of those people when I'm stressed out, I just learn all new stuff.
I'm exactly the same way, so it's okay. So, my suggestion to anybody who wants to waste time and or try and get some feeling back into their lives, there is a YouTube channel that I love because of how in-depth it goes. And it's called Down the Rabbit Hole.
Oh,
and it is,
my boy.
And it is made by the YouTube channel username / actual person named Frederick Knudsen. And all of these videos are gold.
The episode about Temple OS.
Oh my god!
Is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire
It's
life.
like a 45. It's like a 45-minute video about a guy with schizophrenia, and although that at face value sounds terrible, and like I'm making fun of the guy, it's fascinating.
It's like a Shakespearean tragedy.
It is.
But the guy ends up making a OS from scratch.
Yes. And
like,
it's crazy.
Real talk. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
That channel very much.
Some of my other favorites include there was one on the SCP Foundation, which is how I found out about it in the first place. I didn't even know it existed. Which is another thing. If you feel like wasting a shit ton of time reading, SCP Foundation's great. And there's also one on the niche instrument called the hurdy-gurdy. And there's also like several videos specifically on YouTubers who started out okay and then went into just like awful territory.
Right.
It's really
like
interesting.
Nostalgia
Spoony.
Yeah. Spoony. Leafy was here.
Yeah.
Dark Side Phil. Wings of Redemption. Brett Keane. We don't talk about Brett Keane. All right. So, is there anything else anybody wants to add?
Just one other thing that I've done.
Sure.
It's been a good waste of time. So it was, I forget if it was this month or last month's sale, but PlayStation, I was able to renew my online. Which is already good, but then I also paid for a year of the PS Now, the streaming.
Okay.
When you log onto that and you see like mainly PS3 and like free share games, but some PS4 titles, but like just having a readily made streaming database of games available
That's awesome.
has really really occupied time way more than just even having a variety installed, on your hard drive or whatever. It's even better because if your internet can support it, which most should be able to, streaming, just make sure you have the speed for however many devices you're using,
Yeah, I should look
But
into
it's
that.
been I can't say the same. I heard bad reviews about Google Stadia so far, so I haven't got a chance to look at it though.
Yeah, well, I think that is a great thing, because like everybody at this point who has been on the internet for a while has at least a couple games in their Steam library. But this is like a step beyond that, where you can just like, here's everything and just pick something.
Terrifying, there's too much choice.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the way of things now. There is too much choice. But it helps to have options, I guess. Alright, so that being said, we're gonna wrap up this first episode of Let's Regroup. It was a good time, I gotta say. This turned out way better than I expected. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I don't know when I'm going to upload this. We're recording this on a Friday, but catch us every week as we talk about things that are going on in our own lives and in the world around us, so that hopefully you too can feel a little bit better about your outlook on life. So until then, I've been your host, Casey. This has also been Dave and Rowles and Michaela.
Goodbye.
Well,
Bye.
You're welcome, Internet.